I registered to an online bank, and I was asked to use a software application I downloaded on my computer and a username and password. And I asked my husband if that was safe, and he said no. To inform the bank about this security risk, I called them up, the customer service, and I said, I have a friend who says it can take 1 day to write the code that would affect my bank account. What are you going to do about that? And the bank customer service was quiet for a few seconds, and then he responded, can you please tell your friend not to do that?
Please.
And that was the start. We started thinking, what could he not hack?
Right.
And what was the problem with the bank solution? He said that anything, any software that is downloaded on a computer or a phone will eventually be hacked. And the hardware solutions that were available at the time, that was basically smart cards, that was very secure, but they needed a card reader. They needed a client software. They needed a driver that is a support nightmare for banks to deploy and for users to deal about. And they're limited to one service, or maybe a few services. And so that's not scalable. And I started bugging Jacob. I started asking what he could not hack and how do we make it easier, and then we came up with the YubiKey. So that's how we started.
What was the inspiration behind the name for the product and the company?
So we had this bold vision to be, one day we would come up with a key that could work across any number of services and protect 5 billion internet users. At the time there wasn't 5 billion internet users, but we envisioned that it will eventually will be. And the word ubiquitous is the inspiration behind Yubico and YubiKey, enabling one single authenticator to any number of services and making secure logging easy and available for everyone. In 2009, there was a major nation-state attack named Aurora, where not only Google but a lot of other leading tech companies and Department of Defense contractors were breached. And Sergey Brin said, this is a problem. We need to invest in security. We need to stop phishing. It was a phishing attack. Majority of all attacks are phishing, as we know. And he said, start looking for a new solution. Look at any scrappy startup. And a security engineer contacted me and said, I like your product. A security engineer at Google. Can I get a quote of 20,000 YubiKeys? And that's when we wrote our first business plan. Yeah. After the open source plan, or open standards plan. We're going to go to California from Sweden. I'm going to pack my bag and ask my 3 kids and my husband to join me. And we only need 5 companies to win the world, to get our technology integrated in platforms and browsers and services and help protect the entire universe. And most people thought I was crazy. The first invention of the YubiKey was this idea of a key, a USB key, that you had to touch it. So you know that you're not a Trojan or remote hacker. And then we have got rid of the driver and the client software because it identifies as a keyboard. You put it in your computer and it just works. So that was the initial first version of the YubiKey. Together with Google, we started brainstorming on how do you now make this key to work everywhere and have even better security. And that's when Jacob wrote the code for U2F that enabled one single authenticator. One single authenticator that could be a YubiKey, it can be a phone, a computer, a ring, a watch, that works across any number of services without any shared secrets between services, to make it truly scalable and secure with good privacy. We need to tell the world that there are 3 things you need to do to protect yourself online. If you do that, 90% of all attacks can be stopped. You need to use 2-factor authentication, and not just any 2-factor. If you want to be really safe, you have to use phishing-resistant authentication, which is basically passkeys, FIDO, or smart card. You need to stop using old software. The hackers always find the vulnerable stuff in old software, and you need to ensure that you don't give access rights to anyone You don't give your keys to your house to all your neighbors. You give them to a few trusted parties. If you do those things, you can stop account takeovers.